I'm Theodis Samuels.
I'm Hunter Davis.
I'm Zach Sandler.
I'm Jay Moore's son.
Andrew Anderson.
And you are listening to the Local Sounds.
You're listening to the Local Sounds
And you are listening to the Local Sounds
And you're listening to the
podcast.
Local Sounds
And you're listening to
podcast.
the Local Sounds podcast
With my friend Taylor Davis.
My friend Taylor Davis.
My friend Taylor Davis.
My good friend Taylor Davis.
My friend Taylor Davis.
Welcome back, my friends. It's your boy Taylor James Davis coming to you from my studio here in Miami, Florida. Welcome to week 4 of the Local Sounds podcast. So far, we've had 3 amazing guests. The great David Rotella from Light of Day, Canada in week 1. The hilarious Jack Norris for week 2. And the last episode with local Miami music legend Eric Garcia, AKA the fantastic Uncle Scotchy. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the conversations, the music, and the knowledge that all of our guests have brought to the show. And today will be no different. But first, some music. So far in the last 3 weeks, you have heard 3 singles off my upcoming record, At Night in the Dark. The songs have been Cold in July, Gone, and The Devils Are Here. This week, we're going to dig in more to the latest single, Cold in July. The real inception point of this song came from 2 places. I came up with the riff one day sitting at the kitchen table. I've been writing a lot of this new record, starting with The Devils Are Here with the capo on the first fret. For those non-musician folks, this helps to change the key. I didn't plan on things being this way, but after I wrote The Devils Are Here, I knew there was something to this concept of writing songs with this method, and I was going to run with it. From that concept, I wrote Black Dog, Drowning in This House, 3 songs off the upcoming new record. So I started picking along to this new song with that concept, but something was missing. After a few weeks of playing with the key, I finally found the song with no capo. Key of A, and I was off and running. Kind of. I still was missing some notes. I had an E at the end of the arrangement, but nothing in between. With the help of my good friend, the very talented Lucas Jolton, he helped me find a chord to use somewhere in the arrangement that was nice. And with another week's work, I was able to find 2 more chords and put together the arrangement. The second part was a great title I had laying around, Cold in July, a title I had seen on a paperback at a thrift store by Joe R. Lansdale, the exact same way 3 years before that I wrote Unlock the Chain. That song was inspired by the book Nowhere Fast by Kevin Waltman, and it inspired a lot of the rest of my last record, Golden Age Syndrome. I loved the title without reading a note, without reading a line of the book. It was a metaphor in my head for understanding that even on the warmest days, you can still get cold. The song was about growth. My older catalog is filled with songs about being left with no closure, feeling put in a situation with no control. And there are still plenty of situations in my life, and I'm assuming in yours, where we feel completely out of control with things. But you have to work on trying to control certain things, like your own emotion, your own growth. Cold in July is about understanding that even if you don't get closure from someone else, you can create your own closure. Still doesn't mean you won't get cold days, but at least you know that it'll get warm.
Blood spill across the floor in the night. I go to lock the door. I got a lie to tell that you may never want to hear. Love's lost, love is found in this town that brings all of our hearts right down. You don't know how it feels, 'cause when it's light and I can't fall asleep, and these wounds, they just bleed so deep that it's true. Even if we don't try, it's so cold in July. done the wrong thing. So many times I've lost track that we might never make it back. And I'm alright with that. Love was ours, but it's so fleeting. How can we feel so damn deeply until we feel nothing at all? 'Cause when it's dark and I'm alone without you in the dust, there's not one thing that I wouldn't do. Even when it's goodbye, it's so cold in July. It's so cold in July.
We are back, Local Sounds Podcast. That was Cold in July off my upcoming record At Night in the Dark, featuring the lovely Miss Nay Rose on the violin, Ryan B playing the backing guitar, and the great Punkaski doing the mixing and mastering. It's time to get to our guest of the week. Tonight's special guest is a man that I met 2.5 years ago. Hard to believe that it's been that long. We met outside the main door at Churchill's, our stomping ground here in Little Haiti. I was rehearsing for a feature show, getting warmed up in the parking lot of Churchill's with a Fort Lauderdale artist and friend of mine, Auntie One Music. We were working out a rendition of Neil Young's classic Helpless for a packed audience on the back patio. I walked to the door with Antoine with my harmonica rack around my neck, and I met this guy at the main door with all that in mind. Now keep in mind, not many guys in Miami play the harmonica, even less play it on the rack. I know all of these guys. That's how small the circle is of guys that do it. So when you see a guy wearing a contraption around your neck, you're wondering, what the hell is going on? What the hell is that? That's exactly what this guy asked me. He said, what the hell is around your neck? I explained to him what it was, and he said, so you're going to play that while you play the guitar? I said, yeah, hopefully so. He also told me he was a comedian, and he was there to perform as well. For some reason, maybe because I was drinking whiskey myself, I asked him, I said, do you like whiskey? He gave me this smirky look, the same look he gives me now when I mention the word whiskey around him, and from that time on, we've been brothers. I took him to the trunk of my car and handed him a bottle of Black Velvet, Miami's finest underground whiskey, affordable whiskey, and we headed in. Theodis Samuels, or as the folks on the scene know him as Mr. Goodnight, is the cream of the crop, in my opinion, when it comes to underground comics here in the city. Not only that, but he's one of the few underground guys that has toured the country in places like Colorado, Texas, Georgia, and all over Florida. He's a member of my good friend John Everyman's podcast panel for years now, and he also curates his own events for comedy and music all across town. We just shared an event a few nights ago at the Fish House in Sunset, and it reminded me again, another reason why Theo is so special. He doesn't make his events comedy only just for him and his comedy friends. He always brings in music. Not only that, but there's no one I met in Miami that attends more shows than this guy. Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night, jazz night, rock and roll, acoustics, hip hop. It doesn't matter. If the show's going on, Theo's there. He's a real study of the scene. He wants to grow. He wants to get better every time he hits the stage. He wants to improve, and he will soak up all the tools he needs from musicians or comedians that he can use to benefit his set. You can follow him online. Follow him on Instagram at Mr. Goodnight to see his comedy bits. And tonight we're going to play a few. Local Sounds podcast listeners, welcome the great Theodis Samuels to the studio with us today. What's good, my brother? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, what's up, man? Everything good, man. I ain't no Jack Daniels, so right, whiskey, man, it's pretty decent. I'm tasting a little bit of that right now.
That's good. That's good. We did drink a little bit of that rye Jack Daniels before we got started, which was new for me, but absolutely delicious. So we're a little loose today, so I think that's about perfect for me and you. So, Theo, thank you for stopping by, man. I know that December is a busy month, especially with comedy and music events starting again little by little in the city. So, thank you for giving me some time, even though we're good friends. I know that you could be fishing right now. For those that don't know, Theo is a big fishing guy. If you don't see him on the comedy scene, you could catch him by your local ravine fishing.
I always say don't call the police.
Please don't, because Theo's just trying to have a good time and catch some fish.
Yeah,
you know?
So if I'm in the back, if you see me in your backyard, man, don't call the police. I'm just trying to catch something.
What are your early memories of? I talked about in that introduction about us meeting each other for the first time. What are your first memories of us meeting?
Yeah, man, I think it was cool, man. I feel like when you first walked in the door, I don't remember what I told you, but I did say, oh, you gonna play that? Well, you play the guitar. You was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's dope. And I was like, yo, I gotta watch this guy. And I think I told you, I was like, yo, I don't know what time you go up, but I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna watch you.
And you were. That was a really busy night. I think right after I got done, it started raining because I think we had a tent over the stage, and we had to take the tent down. That was when Carla was hosting open mic.
Okay.
And
Carla.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it started raining right after the set got done. And I think I ended the thing with "Who'll Stop the Rain," and then it started pouring rain. So obviously nobody stopped it that night. But me and Hugo and Carla and Daniela got soaking wet, putting the tent down. But I remember seeing you. I don't know if it was in the front row, probably in the front row, right where you sit in front and you say, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah. I'm always in the front. I'm ready to be entertained. So whoever go up there, I'm always grateful for that.
Well, I talk about it all the time. You know, just like I love talking about the first time that we met. It's a great story, and we bonded over whiskey from the very beginning. But I remember seeing you on stage for the first time, and I remember you followed some less entertaining comedians, I'll say in a nice way, and you got up there, and it's tough for musicians or comedians to go back to back to back to back. That's why I've tried to mix in on the open mic, so that way it's not as you're not comparing to the guy that was before, the guy after. You're bringing in a little bit of both. But I remember your cat joke. You know, to this day, I remember it. I still laugh at it now, like I've never heard it before. But I remember you doing the cat joke, and it was you shut the crowd down.
Yeah, that's one of my that's a pretty. I guess it's a pretty good joke. People laugh about it. I think it ain't funny, but to me personally, but everybody laugh about it, so I always.
I'm gonna try to tell it right now.
No, you don't have to tell it.
No,
I think you should just play it on video and let them see it for
okay,
themselves.
that's what we're gonna do in the first bit. We're gonna here in a little bit. We're gonna play Theo's cat joke, which really won me over. It was just such a good joke. You could picture yourself. The good jokes, you could picture yourself in the situation, and it has to do with masturbation and cats and couches, which Theo and I have slept on plenty of couches.
Oh yeah, when you do this shit, we do is. Can I cuss on here? I'm just
Sure, yeah, of course.
I'm sorry if I did, cause I'm gonna try not to. So if I do cuss, I'm gonna get somebody $5.
It's so send Theo an inbox and a receipt as well for how many times we say fuck during this process. But
I'm gonna try not to.
This is not one for the kids. But let's go back to the beginning, Theo. From what I know, you're born and raised here in Florida, right?
Born and raised in Miami, Florida, yeah.
And how are your feelings about? They always say you have a love-hate relationship with your hometown. Do you feel that way about Miami?
I mean, Miami pretty cool. I mean, it's a great place to like start, I guess, because you get you get to meet like different type of people. I think like it don't matter what type of like what they do, like Spanish, like whatever race you are. I think you can meet them here in Miami, and I think I'm happy to be able to come from Miami and be able to go anywhere else and just like kind of like don't care about like what race is, what religion and all that.
Yeah.
And I feel like from here it's like it doesn't exist. All that racist shit don't exist here.
Yeah, I think
That's $5.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the scene can definitely be used as an example because we'll have nights of comedy, nights of music, or nights of both, and you see all different backgrounds of. I think a thing that could easily separate the scene more is all the different drastic styles that people may not fuck with entirely. But I also think that you see that people that do hip hop like acoustics, people that do acoustics like jazz. So there is a great camaraderie and there's a great melting pot in the city, I've noticed.
It's pretty. I mean, I won't say the stand up here is big on people coming to see stand up shows or whatever, but I feel like it's a good place to like. For me, anyway, because anytime I do stand up here and people just giggle or whatever the case may be, and I go somewhere else, people loving it. So I'm glad I'm from here. I guess it's a tough crowd here because you're competing against like cocaine and scrippers. So when you're doing that, it's like I don't want to. Do I want to see somebody tell jokes or I want to see some butt in my face and I put a little cocaine up my nose? So that's. I mean, I understand. I pick that too, the scrippers and the cocaine, but I do stand up, so. I gotta stick with the stand up, but it's very hard when you're competing against that. Yeah,
and you can kill one night and then the next night do the same thing and not kill. Same thing with music.
Well, see, the scene ain't really big here, so it's like most of the time, like if you go to a restaurant or a bar and you're doing stand up, those people that came to that bar didn't come for like stand up. They just going to just drink because it's a 2-drink special. So it's like whatever, it's a special, I'm there. But then if they see somebody on the stage talking, they're like, oh well, this done it on me. I don't know this was going on. But if you could get those people just to even like pay you attention instead of talking, you're doing a great job. I think that's what I.
I think that catching them off guard is sometimes a really good thing.
Because they're not there for that.
And you're one of the masters around here of catching people off guard. They never see you coming. Even if they see you waiting by the stage to go up next, they never see you coming. And we did a comedy night. I was thinking back about the comedy night we did for open mic. It's been a while ago now, but that was a great night because we filled in music acts ever so often, but mostly it was some of the cream of the crop of comedians from that first generation, the time that I came in 2018. It was like Dave Martin and you and John Everyman, and you have done a great job. I always talk about that some of the bands and musicians that when I came to town were the biggest bands and musicians or solo artists, whatever. Some of them aren't even around anymore, and it's been less than 3 years since I moved here. Yeah. And the same thing with comedy, but you're one of the guys that's still around, still kicking and still providing an experience for the audience.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I said, it's not really big here on stand up. So a lot of people that I know, and I ain't know, like a lot of people just. Miami is one of those places, man. It's like if you stay here and you keep just like performing here, you're gonna eventually like say, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, because it's a grind. I kind of look at my relationship with Miami as this is a place where I rehearse my material for the road. I see what works, see what doesn't,
See, so it's a practice ground, I guess, at that point, because a lot of times, even for stand-up, it's like, it's not big, so it's like, the pay is like minimum, like, it's very hard to do stand-up here. And and I mean, like, whoever still doing stand-up in Miami, I appreciate you, and I want you to continue to keep on growing.
If I'm gonna put you on the spot before we ask more questions, if you had to name 2 or 3 comedians, because I know that you're a studier of the scene, you know these guys. There's probably not a guy that's out there on the scene or a female for that matter, that's doing something that you don't know about. Who's on your radar right now of local comedians, guys or females that you think, oh, when they get on stage, I know they're gonna hit hard?
Oh, personally, it's like I enjoy everybody from here. Like anybody that come here and have the guts to go on stage, I enjoy them, male or female. It's very hard to do stand up here in Miami. I think it's just hard to do stand up, period. But it's just definitely in Miami because the scene ain't big, like I said before. And I feel like I look up to everybody that's here. I want everybody from here, from Miami, to keep growing. I hopefully see them on Netflix.
Yeah, and I think that
any one of them.
Yeah, of course, and I think that comedians, this is always my line that I tell people is I say comedians have it a lot tougher than musicians because there's a distraction technique with music. Music can distract you and put you in a zone, and then the lyrics go on top, or if you're playing the harmonic, and can go on top of that. But the music provides a bass for you. As a comedian, your bass is silence. You're working and manipulating silence.
Yeah, I feel like I call that is being a waiter, but a waiter without a menu. But you gotta get it right. It's like I come up there. Somebody want steak. Somebody want this. Somebody want chicken. So I don't know what you want because you're not telling me exactly what you want. I just gotta assume this is what you want, and then you just gotta go up there and just go with it. Go with the flow. Sometimes you go up there. It's like maybe it's good nights, some bad nights. But like you said, music is totally different. I feel like you go and do the same song every day, and I listen to it. But if I do stand up and if you see me perform that same joke every single time, every time you see me, you're not gonna enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, also, relative similarity is that, sometimes the song that hit the night before is not going to hit the same way. It's
different type of people.
Timing. It's the audience. It's the emotion in the air. It's what time you go on. If I play a song at 3:00 in the afternoon for a charity event, and then I play that at 10:00 at night at Churchill's, it's not going to have the same effect.
Well, if I do anything at 3:00. And then it's time I gotta turn around and do something at 10:00. I'm done off that whiskey already. Off all those hours, I'm already drunk as hell. So by the time I go 10:00, I'm gonna be pretty super banged up.
Yeah, you and I are both. We have that artist thing in us that anything that if someone tells me, "Oh, the show's at 2:00," I'm like, what respectable musician in town is up at 2:00 or is operating like normal?
No,
we're night owls. We're night owls.
No, we're gonna be up. No, we're gonna be up regardless. Like if you tell me at 3:00, I'm gonna be up. It's just that I'm just gonna be drinking before I get there. and I'm telling the kids do not drink. But when you get of age, give it to me. That's all I'm trying to tell you. I'm a whiskey fan. That's all I can say.
I heard Nick Swartzen tell a joke that always sticks with me. Nick Swartzen said, he's like, I just want to adopt a kid when he's like 20. And he's like, I just want to take him to the bar and I'll be like, buy your father a drink.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I'm with that.
So let's go back to kind of the beginning. We talked about your roots in Miami a little bit. I asked Jack Norris this question a couple weeks ago. I said, what do your parents think about having a son that's in the comedy field? And I'm going to ask you the same question.
My dad, he think it's pretty cool that I can get up there and talk. He only been to one show so far.
Okay.
And the show he did come to, it was pretty. He had a great time, cause he never seen me do it live. So I always show him like a few videos. But he was like, yeah, you know how that be. Like when you show somebody in your family, like, man, I'm funnier than you. You know, this is how I go. But he never showed me that. He actually respect what I do, cause it's very hard. So it's like, yeah, he's like, yeah, I see. Cause I show him videos all the time. He's like, yeah, I see. When he came to it, see it live, he was like, yo, I see why you do it.
How did that show feel? You know, you've done plenty of shows for strangers. It's easy to do show for strangers because I always was like, well, if they fuck with me, they fuck with me. If not, then, that's okay.
No, the only thing is I got to do what I always do, but in front of his face. Because I talk about him. But
were you aware when you're on stage? Or are you thinking like, oh, this is different. My dad's here tonight.
No, I was like, thank God he's here. I get to talk to him about him in his face instead of doing it behind his back. So he get to hear what I say about him.
You remember we had John Everyman. Shout out to John. John did the podcast. I think it was roughly around Christmas time, maybe, or maybe it was January. I forget when it was, but we did the podcast live at the open mic at Churchill's, and I started off the show with a song, and my dad was in the front row, and we had a packed crowd, and I was definitely well aware that he was there. It felt differently, than usual. So your parents, they support the comedy. They've been tough on you. Do they give you jokes? Did your dad give you jokes? Like, hey, I think this would be funny on stage.
No, my dad know he a joke already. he never tried to give me a joke. He already know, like, he was like, I was like, yo, I'm gonna just talk about you. I'm gonna be famous soon.
That's great. That's great. Wow. Your response was a lot funnier than Jack's. So, what was the earliest influence that made you want to get in comedy? Made you say, I mean, there's guys that you see like as a musician. I've heard musicians say, well, I saw the Beatles, and the Beatles, they were dressed, immaculately. They played immaculately. Their hair was done right, and people thought, oh, I can never do that. Then 6 months later, the Rolling Stones came to the United States. They weren't dressed identical. They looked like they had just got off the whiskey train. Their hair was out of place. They played all over the place. And it made a lot of musicians go, oh, I can do that. Was there a moment where you saw a guy that said, I can do that?
Well, the reason why I started doing stand-up, and I'm going to tell, I think I seen, the first time I did see stand-up, and I'm going to tell you why I got started doing it. So, what made me want to do stand-up has nothing to do with stand-up. I was watching like a YouTube video. I was like going through jobs at the time. I was like bored of just going through jobs, trying to like, you know, see what I'm good at or like what I want to do for a living. So one day I was just watching like a random video, and Malcolm X came up. If some people don't know who Malcolm X is, it's something like Martin Luther King. That's what I always say. Something I got like that, but a little different. But yeah, so I saw like just kept watching the video, and whatever he was talking about gave me goosebumps. And I was like, yo, how can I like relate to people the way he related to me in my type of way? So people always thought I was funny, like doing high school or middle school. But the thing is, I never thought I was funny. I always like everything I say is probably damn near probably serious. So it's like I was so serious, and people always laugh. And I was like, yo, maybe I need to try to do stand up. And like, so that's what I did. I started writing jokes. And the first time I went on stage, I didn't want to go on stage. I just wanted to go check it out because I never been to like a stand up thing ever in my life. So I just went to an open mic, and I was at the front. I just wanted to check it out, and the lady was like, hey, what you doing? She's like, oh, I said, what's the difference in what I'm doing? She was like, if you performing, it's free, and if you in the crowd, you got to pay. I said, well, just sign me up then, because I don't got no money, so go ahead and sign me up. So that was
spend my money on Black Velvet.
Yeah. Not even at the time I was drinking vodka, so I was like, just sign me up, I'm ready. I spent my last few dollars on vodka, so I'm down.
Do you have comedians now that you're?
But let me answer. Let me tell you what I was going to say. The first time I seen stand up actually done, it was Martin Lawrence. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's very big. He's a great
legend.
He's definitely a great. But at the time I was young, and then my parents was watching the special. I think it was Running Hotel at. And I was sitting down with them for a little bit, for like 5 minutes in. I was like, yo, I'm not about to sit here and watch a person just sit there and talk all day. I'm about to walk off. I can do that. And that's so
Martin Lawrence.
I wasn't inspired to do it. I was like, nah, I hate that.
I see that you pick from some of the greats, but you also have your own unique thing. We talk about, I heard Seth Rogen say on Jerry Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, which was kind of an inspiration, one of the inspirations for me doing the podcast now in a different format than we did it on the first season. But he says that there's some connection, some strong connection between musicians and comedians, but we've never really been able to figure it out. But I think you mentioned Malcolm X. There's a radicalness to Malcolm X, and I see you as kind of that walking that radical line between comedian and rock star. You know, I love the joke about it's actually a real thing when a musician friend of ours came into Churchill's in the back room one night, and he had a lady on each arm, and he leans over and he kisses the one lady, and we're all watching, me and another musician friend, I'll save his name for embarrassment, and you, and you're maybe about 10, 15 feet away from me, but we're all looking at the same thing. Then he leans over and he kisses the other girl, and then they start kissing one another. And we all looked at each other, and you walked over to me and you said, "Damn, I gotta learn the guitar."
I gotta learn how to play the guitar.
But there is so much similarity between the musicians and the comedians, and you definitely bring the rock star thing about the way that you live, the way that you carry yourself, and the way that you perform your comedy. Is rock star like?
I think so.
Do you listen to rock and roll music?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I listen to all type of music. Music is music to me. I feel like that's why I go to all the different type of events, because I want to be entertained. Like, I just love music, and sometimes I wish I could like play the guitar, not because of 2 chicks, but maybe get 3. I need 3. I gotta top what I sing. So
it can happen. It can happen.
It definitely can happen. I think if I get the guitar, I'll be pretty fine.
We're gonna talk more Local Sounds podcast with the great Theodis Samuels, or as most of you know him on the Miami music scene as Mr. Goodnight. But we're going to play a bit. We're going to play the cat bit, right? So check it out. And if you want to follow Theo, you can do so on Instagram. That's at Mr. Goodnight, correct? Is there an underscore in there?
It's no underscore. It's Mr. Goodnight with no period. And then it's an extra T on the night. And you spell it just like good night. Like how you just text your girl or text your boyfriend good night. The same thing, just add another T to it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. This is Theodis Samuels doing the cat bit on the Local Sounds podcast. Check it out.
Who's single in here? Woo. Ow. Don't be happy for that shit. Cause I'm single. And when I'm at home in the dark, jerking off, and my cat be looking at me like this. You pathetic. But somebody in here worse than me. Whoever in here watching animated porn.
Guilty.
You a weird motherfucker. And I told that joke like last week, and somebody said, "Hey man, it's not called animated porn, it's called hentai." Well, y'all for real with that shit, y'all. Y'all like watching Pikachu fuck Sailor Moon, huh? Y'all the freakiest motherfuckers in here, like,
We are back, Local Sounds podcast. That was the cat bit by my good brothers in the studio with me today, Theodis Samuels AKA the one and only Mr. Goodnight. I love that bit. Absolutely love it. I think about it. I heard Seinfeld say too that he heard Letterman do a bit about leftover toothpaste or something, and for 25 years it stuck in his head. Not that, you know, for in that specific bit about the toothpaste that there was anything about it that made him fall on the ground laughing, but it was something that he thought about every day. And that bit did both for me. I was on the ground laughing, and I think about the bit all the time. So I think that there's something to it for sure.
I think anytime, like, you know, I listen to stand up all the time as well. So anytime I get, like, if you tell me a joke of somebody else that did, like, pretty famous, or I just listen to stand up all the time, but I can remember a certain joke about a certain person that I can remember. So if I feel like if you can remember a joke about me, that's all you need to remember, and you always in your mind he'll be funny to you, or she'll be funny to you as well.
You're connected to that bit, and they connect the bit to you.
Because everybody that I remember, like any joke, like a person that I like look up to doing stand up, I remember one joke.
Yeah,
clearly, like just word for word. Probably word for. I probably mess it up, but I know it. And it make me laugh every time.
We talked last week about some of the comedy people that I've loved. I've studied, as you and I talked about, comedy for the last 4 or 5 months pretty heavily, just because there's so much downness with this pandemic and with the quarantine.
Right.
And the music is always so serious, especially my music is, you know, there's not much room for fun in it. It's more like my audio therapy for everyone to listen to. But we talked about Sebastian Maniscalco and Anthony Jeselnik and other comedians. If you had to, you know, say a couple comedians that you enjoy listening to, because I'm assuming you get a lot of comedy from seeing comedy bits all the time. Is there a couple comedians that when you go home and you're on your phone late at night that you watch and listen to?
Well, yeah, it's a lot. I listen to stand up all the time. But I got a few names that pop into my head right now. I listen to Jim Carrey.
Hilarious, yeah.
I think it's not really talking for me. It's because he did something like no one did. Like
he's a performer.
He's an actor.
Yeah,
and he's a great entertainer. But I feel like, yeah, because he acted a lot, and I thought that was hilarious. And to be able to make people laugh about just being like crazy like that when you get on stage, because I know because we start off as stand up, so it's like when he do that crazy stuff, I enjoy it. And so I like Mitch Hedberg.
Hilarious, yeah.
Yeah. Bob Hope, pretty cool.
One of the OGs.
Yeah. I try to give you a variety of some people I listen to. I don't want to like miss a few names, but like I'm gonna miss a few names because there's a whole bunch of people that I do listen to. But like Bill Hicks, another guy.
Yep.
If you ain't listen to him, you gotta listen to him.
I've really fell in love with two guys that I'm still like. I know that they passed away a while ago, but I'm still sad about it to know that they passed away. Is Greg Giraldo, and somebody told me when I mentioned this name, I think it was Sergio Mendez, we talked about it a couple times on the podcast, was Patrice O'Neal.
Oh yeah.
And someone said, "Oh, Theo loves Patrice O'Neal."
Yeah, I do. He's one of the great. I mean, he's one of the great.
Bill Burr called him the greatest of all time, and that's a big one, especially coming from someone as strong as Bill.
But he was good though.
Yeah, for sure.
Bill pretty good too though. Bill, I love you too.
Yeah.
Bill pretty good too.
I've told all the comedians that I know, probably no one has listened because they don't get comedy advice from a musician, which is fair. But there's a new comedy special that's out. It's 5 or 6 episodes. And the guy that does it, I can't think of his name. I'm going to look it up while you're talking. But he directed Adam Sandler's Reign Over Me movie, which was like Sandler's one of his first big ones.
I'm glad you mentioned that guy. Adam Sandler is pretty good. I like him too.
Sandler's great. It plays a really good guitar too.
Yeah, see, and that's the funniest part. Like, I seen that special and I was like, yo, that's funny, because before I ever seen that special, I was already doing the same type of stuff. And that's crazy.
And it all relates. Go ahead, continue. My bad.
No, that was about it.
I know that he's a big. This is connecting back to music with comedy. He's a big Springsteen guy, and I don't have my Takamine guitar up here, but he plays a Takamine guitar, so I know that he's a Bruce guy. He was great. But there's a great comedy special on 5 or 6 episodes. It's a history of the Comedy Store in L.A.
Okay.
And it starts with the first guys that came, the Robin Williams, the Richard Pryors, and then kind of the falling of the Comedy Store in the 2000s, and then the revival with the podcast era with Joe Rogan and Whitney Cummings and Bill Burr, a lot of these guys, and girls as well. Nikki Glazer is a very funny comedian. But it's so good, and it shows really, that all of these folks, whether you're Pryor, whoever you are, you start in the same place.
Yeah, you all start in the same place, and I that's why I always go back and listen to all type of stand-up. It doesn't matter if it's black and white or audio, because I paid my dues to see like different type of craftnesses. I think the craftiness thing for a comedian, that's what I gravitate to. It's like something that you doing different that I never seen done. Eddie Murphy was for me, Eddie Murphy was like probably the best entertainer I ever seen do stand-up. Like, just period.
Yeah.
Like, I know everybody entertained when you doing stand-up, but he was like an entertainer. Like, he didn't have to be funny for me to watch him. He have that personality where I was like, no, I gotta watch this. Like, that's when I watch Eddie Murphy back. So it's a lot of people. I like Richard Pryor as well. There's a lot of people I just like really.
Raw goes down.
Lavelle, if you never heard his name, Lavelle Crawford, you need to go check him out.
Hilarious.
He's pretty funny too as well.
My brother turned me on. My brother Hunter. He turned me on to Ari Spears.
Okay.
And Ari Spears is really funny. That name that I was looking for, who did the Comedy Store documentary, is Mike Bender. Mike was a comedian at the time on the scene around there, and worked with Sam Kinison, another legend. And so it's been very interesting learning as a musician about comedy. It's lightened a lot of the mental health load that this year has taken on a lot of folks, and the scene has been hurt the most. What I'd like you to talk about, because you have one of the best interpretations of the scene, because you see all different aspects of it. You see the dirty side of what we do in the dirty places. You see the corporate side of it and everything that falls in between. What is your impressions of the scene right now?
The Miami scene?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad, I'm grateful for like having a lot of people that does music. If I could be able to like kind of still do stand up as well. For the scene, it's like I'm pretty right now as we speak today, as I'm doing the quarantine thing. I'm pretty happy for the scene, because it's like they still doing music, still doing live jazz, still doing certain events. They still doing stand up for the most part. I don't really know, but they still doing it, and I'm pretty happy for they still like some venues still have be open and to go through a lot of stuff, and like because some venues that I've been to and performed or seen my friends performing or other musicians perform where they done got to shut down and they kept playing. So it's like the scene pretty for what it's worth. It's pretty decent right now.
Yeah, and I definitely think we're when I see states like my good friends in the state of New Jersey are still really locked down and relying on virtual a lot, and to see. We just, me and Theo just saw Luis Alberto, a friend of ours, and his new band, the Curleys. Great show the other night at the Anderson.
That was a good show.
Packed out, too. Packed out with people.
That's the first thing I've ever been to packed out.
Yeah, since quarantine. I told him, I said, that was the best audience I'd seen since quarantine. And
it was a good show, though. They did a great job.
Great show. And Paula opened the show, and April Nicole. It was fantastic. And so where do you see the scene going from here? I mean, with musicians, we at least have access if, another quarantine happens or shutdown, we could do a virtual show. But the amount of comedians doing a virtual comedy set, because it's different dynamics, is way different. So how do you look at that?
Well, for me personally, I can't speak for the other people, the other stand-up dudes, but I feel like I couldn't really do the virtual thing because I'm just there by myself. So I go off energy. I move off energy. So if I don't have that energy, it's hard for me just to create it by myself. I probably got to just sit there and write jokes and just say them and just like go down the list. And I'm not really good at that. Like I try to be like,
you're feeding off the audience to know
Yeah.
where you're gonna go next.
yeah, that's how I
I've seen you pivot a lot.
Yeah, that's
you
what I
know?
do. Like I told you, I'm a waiter.
Yeah,
I just don't have a menu.
yeah.
And you're not telling
Great
me what
analogy. Yeah,
and you're not telling me what you want. I'm just
yeah. You're just seeing
chicken.
Yeah.
And I just keep,
Pasta.
wait, hold on, chicken. And then okay, they don't want
Chicken
no more
ain't
chicken. They don't
working
want
no
more
more,
chicken.
yeah.
No, they done with chicken. They want steak. Steak. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's not a menu. That's how I look at it.
And I feel I did virtual shows for a while, and then I felt like I'm just missing the connection.
Yeah,
if
I need that.
If we lived in an alternative universe where music was only played virtually, I think I would have less interest, because I would always play. I would always sit at home and play. But I love the interaction. I said that the interacting with music was the first time I felt with people that I connected,
And sometimes when I'm on, if you're doing a virtual thing or versus like being live, it's like I'm sitting there telling jokes virtually, and if you don't get it, you just like whatever. You know what I mean? But like if I'm live, even if you didn't get the joke, you laughing because somebody else laughing. So it's like a domino effect. So it's like, oh, he laughed. I don't know what he's talking about, but I'm gonna laugh too. It's that type of environment when you're doing it live, and anytime it's live is way better because you can. When you're listening to it, like if I'm virtual and you listen to me tell jokes, it's just somebody talking at that point. It's like I'm not gonna listen to this guy.
Yeah, and I know that you've done a lot of talking on John's podcast show, and Theo was actually the first guy to get me on John's podcast show. Now we just did the third time just a few days ago, and it was great. It was great to promote the new record, and but Theo was the guy. I remember when I first saw you and John together. I think it might have been Antoine or somebody like that was like, oh, those guys, they move in a pack, and it's almost impossible. I've been trying to get on John's show for a year, and I was like, oh, okay. Never really thought too much about it, and then I think 3 or 4 weeks later, I was on the show for the first time, and then the first time was with Rio Chavara, the great Rio, and then we did it a second time a year later, and then we just did it recently, and I have you to thank for that, because I know that all happened because of you, so I'm very appreciative.
You're welcome, brother.
So let me ask you, I got plenty of questions to ask you. We probably won't get to them all, but a big thing that I think about with you is how much of the act is improv? How much are you on stage trying new stuff out or coming up with stuff in the moment compared to how much are you scripting from bits that you've written on your own?
Okay.
What's the? I know there's not an exact percentage of that.
Nah, it's definitely a percentage for me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a percentage. If I'm getting paid.
Well, whatever.
No, I'm explaining to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I'm getting paid for the gig, maybe I'll say like the first 3 to 4 minutes is something I just made up right then.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm trying to see what the audience what people really want. Even though you'll never know about that. But you gotta speak. I can't look at you until I just gotta talk and see where you at. And I can just look at you and see. I can tell how the people reacting to what I'm doing. So if I'm getting paid though, probably 4 minutes into it. Like when I first start up, it's probably I might hit you with a joke.
But then you break into it.
And then I might start saying wild stuff that I'm thinking of right then. But then after that, I'm going right into it.
Now that first 4 or 5 minutes, are you thinking about, before you go on, are you thinking about, okay, we're going to lead with this and then see where it goes? Or are you just completely just pulling stuff out of thin air?
I'm just sometimes pulling stuff. Majority of the time, I'm pulling out of thin air. Because I want you to get my personality. So that's why I might hit you with a joke first and then start pulling just 10 random stuff and then start hitting you with the jokes. Because I want you to be like, oh man, yeah, this guy, yeah, I like this guy. I want you to get my personality real fast.
I can tell that a lot of people, you're selling them in the beginning, whether you know it or not, you're selling them in the beginning on Theo Samuels or Mr. Goodnight as the character. And they're buying into the character of who you are, because I always say, as a musician, you're not the guy. I just said it recently. I said, you're not the guy on stage. You're working on becoming him, And so I feel like they're learning about who the character is, and then they get into the bits from there.
Okay.
Do you feel that? Do you feel that I'm selling you on who I am as this Mr. Goodnight, and then I'm gonna, then the bits are gonna start hitting you because you already know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I'm that guy all day.
Yeah.
I don't, it's no character for me. It's just, I'm that guy all day. I chose a name because somebody told me, hey, man, you need a name to go on stage. You need a name to get on stage. And I was like, all right, bro, I'm just going to use my Instagram name that I made up one time. But I didn't make that up. And I'm here to tell you about this is the first time I ever talked about how I got my Mr. Goodnight. So the first time I like I said, I listened to Richard Pryor. I used to watch a lot of movies with Richard Pryor. There's a movie with Richard Pryor in it where he was like having an affair with the pastor wife. So, and then like
sounds like Richard.
Yeah, so it was in the movie, whatever. I forgot the movie at this point. I probably knew it later. And he was like, having an affair with the wife. And then she was like, every time you come over here, you never give me your name. So what's your name? He was like, Mr. Goodnight. Just call me Mr. Goodnight. And from that, I just took that and I was like, yo, I'm dealing with that. And this is before I even just did stand up. I was like, yo, that's funny. Let me just add that to my Instagram name. So I put that on my Instagram name, to know.
I've been thinking about that story. I was going to bring that up in questioning, but I was thinking about that story of you telling me about your name. Theo and I were just on the road in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, which is, for those non-Floridians, it's right by Daytona Beach, about a 4-hour drive from here. We just did a private gig up there for a house party. And Theo told me that I was it just shows me how rooted you are. It's nice to see a comedian or an artist that's rooted in history. We're all standing on somebody else's shoulders.
Yeah, but then because it made sense. The Mr. Goodnight part made sense. Not just having a fit with somebody. It's just that for me personally, I always go to sleep. So I was like, yo, that's dope. I should just take that and put it on Instagram. That's cool. Like I always be sleep. But I wake up fast. Like I'm a light sleeper, so it's like. But I'm always gonna go to sleep. So I was like, yo, that'll be dope. Just call myself Mr. Goodnight. And when I chose the name, everyone was like, yeah, Theo, you do sleep a lot. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And musicians, comedians, artists are creatures of the night. That's why I have a tough time falling asleep before 4 or 5 a.m. Unless I see the sun and I know I don't want any part of that, then it's very difficult to fall asleep. But we're with the great Theodis Samuels on the Local Sounds podcast. We're gonna play another bit of Theo's. And make sure that you check him out. That's Mr. Goodnight with 2 T's at the end. And here's another bit. Enjoy.
I'm doing this shit right now for community service hours. I'm trying not to go to prison like that. That's some scary shit. Like, no, it's real. Like, every time I think about going to prison, I be like, damn, man, somebody in there that gonna want to fuck me. For free, like.
We are back, Local Sounds podcast. You just heard the comedy stylings of the great Theo Samuels, AKA Mr. Goodnight. And now we're going to do some talking about the new record, At Night in the Dark, that I have coming out. Theo was one of the first people, man, you were one of the first guys that I played Cold in July for when Punkowski sent me the mix and master. We were coming back from New Smyrna Beach a couple weeks ago, and you made me feel, I already felt good about it, but you made me feel extra good, knowing that we were a little bit of time before the song came out, and just gave me that extra reassurance. And I know you're someone that tells it like it is, even to your friends, so you don't kiss anybody's ass.
Yeah. You can't do that. I came up with that one day. I was like, yo, if I can't kiss my own ass, I can't kiss nobody else's ass. Nah,
that's a T-shirt right there.
Nah, unless it's a female. I'll probably kiss your ass now.
Yeah, just to be clear.
Yeah, we gotta be doing something sexual to be me kissing your ass. But other than that, no.
And I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate it. You've heard. You were one of the early supporters of The Devils Are Here and Gone, and now Cold in July. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, man. That's a great song. I feel like that's a great song. I like that song, and I thought about that. I was listening to it yesterday. I listened to it about 3 hours straight, like legit 3 hours straight.
Wow, thank you.
And I was like, yo, the same shit over and over. That's $5. That's $10 somebody. So I listened. I did good. $10. That's it.
You're doing well for you. That's very good.
Yeah, I'm doing great. But So yeah, it's like I've been listening for 3 hours yesterday, and I was like, yo, this is a good song, and I feel like that song could be on like a. I was picturing right when I was listening to it. I was like, yo, this song could be on like a army movie or something like that, like towards the end of the movie where when it's going like it's getting hectic, but like they battling through it and they the victory you see victory right there, and it's like that type of probably at the end where you see like victory, but it's like you're going through a lot of stuff.
But think about all the stuff that they did after.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yo, I went through this and this to that. I think it would be great.
If you're a movie producer out there, the song, I'm looking to put it in a movie. So if you got some room for it at the end of a war movie, you let us know. So,
oh yeah, I'll probably work on something. I'll put it at the end of something.
That's good. I've always had a dream. I shot a student film when I was in high school. We never finished it because I realized that as a musician, for the most part, or a comedian, whatever you want to do, you can do it. You don't have to rely on many other people. But when you do a film, it's all relying on other people, which can be a tremendous letdown.
Yeah.
But I'd like to make one.
I think that's. I've been working. I'm gonna start working back on it because I always wanted to write something like a little short film, not a short film, but actually a movie, something funny or something like that. I always had a thought of doing it, so I'm actually trying to plan it out this year. Actually do it.
Well, hopefully there's some room for Cold in July or something like that.
Oh, Cold in July will definitely be in it if it's a war movie for sure. Because I already visualized it, so I got to do it.
How are we gonna shoot a war movie in Miami?
Nah, I ain't shooting it here, man. It'll be somewhere else probably one day. 10 years from now, your song's still gonna be classic at this point. So it's like, I can send it there.
Thank you. I hope so. I hope that there's
I don't know what you mean, hope. To me, it's a classic. That's what I say. I don't care who else.
It's gotten great responses so far. It's gotten great responses.
For me, it's a classic.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So how did you come up with the name, The Dark?
There is At Night in the Dark just came from a musician's life. I feel like you're thinking about things late at night. Especially, I got done doing so many great shows in Miami when I was really starting to make an impact, and I would come home with all of this. You know what I'm talking about. When you really did great on stage, and then you come home and you have all this energy built up, but the night's over, and then you have to find a way to calm down, and that all happens at night in the dark. When are you thinking about your worst fears, your biggest undercomings or shortcomings as a person, as a musician? You're thinking about them at night. During the day, I'm all right. As much as I love the night, I'm thinking the most in the night about everything. And I think that's probably where it came from. I had the title for a while, and I've always thought that a great album starts with a great title. And Golden Age Syndrome, I really like that because it was the idea of being born in a time, you feel like you should have been born in a different era. And then the one before that I really love, I still love to this day, it was called Portraits of the Others. And so I was like, man, I'm coming off 2 really good titles, but you can't force the title, it just comes along. So I thought of At Night in the Dark. I didn't intend on it being a song because the last 2 records, there wasn't a song associated with the title. There wasn't a Golden Age Syndrome song or Portraits of the Others song. But then I had this great song that I had written, inspired by some of my rock friends. It's the most rock and roll song on the project, At Night in the Dark and Black Dog. And I just felt that was best describe my music, is that when you're alone at home at night, or in my case, my girl's falling asleep, I'm always the one that's up late. And you're it could have been called Alone at Night in the Dark. But At Night in the Dark was really everything. The music is kind of fits that theme, all the songs. So
out of the whole album, if you could pick 2 songs, which one's your favorite?
Damn, it's like picking between your children. But everyone probably does have a favorite child. They just don't like to announce it because it's not politically correct to do that. But I would say that Cold in July, I think, is a turning point for me to different music. I think it's probably the thing that I'm most pleased with that I've ever written. The Devils Are Here surprised me with people's reaction because I didn't know what to think about it. But I would say Cold in July, and there's another song that has the most heart and meaning in it of any song I've ever written because it's actually based on a true story, is What Kind of Man. I wrote it about a guy that we met. I was on tour with Jared Clemens in New Jersey. This January will be 2 years ago. And this guy was doing security for us through the Clemens family organization. And he was a former military veteran, and he had gone through just the worst of the worst. He had a young son, 3 years old, that he never got a real chance to know because of just a lot of stuff. And his son passed away from a brain tumor when he was 3. And Then he was dishonorably discharged from the military, faced a lot of issues, and went to the bottle. And he was just telling me all this stuff. We were finishing shows, and we were out back of a venue passing a whiskey bottle back and forth, much how you and I met. It seems to be a reoccurring theme with how I make connections.
That's how you always meet everybody.
I think so. And he just started opening up to me. I barely knew him. It was like day 2 of the tour, and he just started opening up. Really cool guy. His name's T. Canton, and he just said all these things, and my artistic mind was just going nuts. It's like I was trying to, oh, that's a great line for a song. That's a great line for a song. And everything was adding up, and I got down as many as I could. And I didn't know if it was going to be a song or a story or what, but he said to me, he says, you know what, Taylor? He says, I imagine what kind of man he would be. And so then at the end of the tour, we dropped him off in Philadelphia, and we're grown men. And, we drop him off, and he cries, and I start crying, and Jared starts crying. And we were driving through Philly after we left him crying, thinking that, we left a good friend, a new friend, and eventually, because of how every person's individual life is, will move past those things that he told us, but he won't. We left him with that stuff in his head. And so when I got back to Florida, this was almost 2 years ago, February of 2019. I said, hey, I'd love to write a song. I don't know where it'll end up, when it'll end up, but it's going to end up somewhere. I just had a feeling about it. Chris Clark taught me a little finger picking pattern to a very obscure chord, a C suspended chord, and using my trusty capo, was able to move it around, found the right key, and the chorus says, I laid awake thinking all night long what kind of man you would be if you had the chance to be. And so that song for me, it's close to the heart. It's almost 6 minutes long. It's not something that somebody would play on the radio, but it's something that people, of whether you've been through that situation or not, will feel. So those 2 songs are turning points to me compared to anything else. So.
Oh yeah, you answered my next question already. So it's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that was one of the next questions. What was one out of the track of the album that you feel like more like you put your heart into it, like it actually means more to you? And I guess
they all have my heart in it. If you're trying to write a song like somebody else, you're not gonna. Now there are plenty of inspirations. Like I wouldn't have wrote A Night in the Dark or Black Dog without watching great bands in Miami and my good band friends like Bobby Mahoney and the Seventh Son, Levy and the Oaks. I wouldn't have wrote a song like that without those influences. Black Dog, At Night in the Dark. Even The Devils Are Here. The Devils Are Here is really a 3-chord blues song done with some hip hop cadences. But yeah, they all have some form of Drowning. Is a song really snuck in on the album. Kind of has its own place, and it was about how you take advantage of those that are there for you when you're drowning, and you have to remind yourself and remind them that even though you have moments of being human where you take advantage of that, you also want to remind them that I think the last line of the song is when I can't stand myself, those are the nights that you walk for me. So yeah, I think I try to put my heart and soul in everything, but What Kind of Man really, it's probably the only song I've ever written that it gets emotional to play. So.
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's like. So, how long did it take you to do the album?
Oh man, I wrote The Devils Are Here 6 months after moving to Miami. I've lived here for 2.5 years. So we're coming up on, by the time the album comes out, it'll be 2 years. 2 years from starting with The Devils Are Here. The last thing I wrote on the album was a song called This House, about how, the people and the government, there's no bailout plan for the musicians, for the comedians, for the artists. And if you take advantage of the greatness that is live music and live comedy and live art, you will regret it. And we've already seen some venues lost, and it's a terribly tragic thing. But that was the last song I wrote on the album, was Cold in July in This House. So from The Devils Are Here to those songs was probably almost 2 years, plus about 4 or 5 months of recording, bringing in people to like Nate Rose to play violin on a couple things, and Ryan B. and Bobby Mahoney sending him stuff in New Jersey. My friend Danny Gochnar of Joe Gershecki and the House Rockers in Pittsburgh. So music has been sent an email and sent back, and then working with Punkaski on mixing and mastering. It's a long process. I'm exhausted. I'm ready to let people hear it, and I'm ready to take that deep sigh of relief to know that it's done. We finished everything last night, so. January 1st, we're about 2 weeks away. So, yeah, I'm excited. We were gonna put it out October, November, and we just got caught up in a lot of work, and but we're finally getting it out. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate having Theodis Samuels in the studio. Make sure you check him out on social media at Mr. Goodnight with 2 T's at the end. This has been the Local Sounds Podcast. Theo, thank you so much for giving me your time, brother. I really appreciate it. I love you. You know that.
Yeah, I just feel a little bad, man. Your headphones broke. I think I got to pay you for those. So.
No. Never buy Beats headphones. Stick with Bose. Stick with a reliable name. That's an anti-endorsement. So this has been the Local Sounds Podcast with the great Theodis Samuels. We'll be back with another guest in the next week. And make sure you check him out to see what he's doing. And we'll be back with you soon. Have a good rest of your night, everybody.